Hey everybody, it's Wakefield, and I am joined today by a member of our family who wasn't technically a member of our family a year ago. This is Annika, and she has joined us through the Young Life exchange student program called Amicus, and she has been here since August of 2018, August 7th, and this is her last full day with us as a family. She's got some other American stuff to do before she goes back home to Germany. But we thought as a family it'd be really cool to get her perspective of why she came, what she's done here, what it has meant to her, and what it has changed in her. And really use that as a resource for us to remember, and remember you, and hopefully you to remember. And then for other families too, who might get the chance to see this and think about, wow, how meaningful could this be for other students and other families? So, Annika, thank you.
Yeah.
It's been an awesome year. So let's go back to the beginning first. Whatever made you want to do an exchange year in the first place?
I think I thought end of ninth grade about to do it because my cousin did it during this time, actually with the same organization, like Young Life Amicus. And he was so excited of it and loved it. And I was like, oh, I want to do it too. And I saw all these pictures. And then in 10th grade, it was really hard for me, everything. I was like, I need a break. And I want 1 year, just an awesome experience. So then I asked my parents and said hey, I want to do an exchange year, go to America and have 1 year fun and learn a lot. And they were like, okay. And so I'm glad that they let me do this. So I applied to do it, and I'm glad because I wanted to improve my English skills and go to an American high school like you see in the movies. I was like, this must be cool. So yeah.
Awesome. Do you remember so you had applied in October, a couple of Octobers ago,
Yeah.
and then you didn't find out for another 6 months before, hey, you were chosen by an American family. Do you remember that moment when you found out that we had chose you to join our family?
Yeah, I remember it. I was struggling with homework in the middle of the night. And then I got the message that I have you guys as host family, and I was so excited and couldn't sleep the whole night.
Did you get your homework done that night?
No, I didn't do it. And I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was so excited. And I looked you guys up and was like, oh, they look so nice. And this will be a great year.
Yeah.
So,
And then you started researching Savannah, Missouri,
Yeah.
of all United States places you could have ended up. What was it like coming from Berlin, Germany, one of the, largest metropolitans in the world, and then coming to Savannah, Missouri, a town of 5,000 people?
I actually thought it would be much more different, or I don't know, but I still have a lot of people around me, family and all the friends, so it isn't really much different, but to see all the fields and farming and everything, this is different than Berlin, and that we don't have public transportation.
Right.
So, but I like it. It's a good experience. I'm glad that I'm not in the city.
Yeah.
In Savannah.
Awesome. So you mentioned getting better at English. Do you think your English has improved?
Yeah, I hope actually, but sometimes people still make fun of my accent, but I think it's funny.
I think we laugh as a family a lot about your accent, but it's only because we love it so much, and something that pretty quickly people can say, oh, you're not from around here, and a lot of people think that's bad, but to me it's no, that's awesome, because if you're not from around here, you bring a whole new perspective to what we see every day. And I think that's been really meaningful, on a big picture to our family, is not only for Sarah and I, but then for our 3 young children who haven't experienced much at all. It's here's someone who literally lives on the other side of the world and has seen who's lived in a big city in a different country and is at a different stage of life. And it's that can always be helpful to get new perspective. So I think you've done that really well. So so you found out you were getting hosted. What were you thinking right before you hopped on the plane to come to America? Or even, so in Annika's case, you got to come to America a month before you came to our family and do a road trip with your family. So what were you thinking about coming to America? What were you thinking about actually coming and starting your exchange year? Were you more nervous? Were you very hopeful? Did you know it would go well? Or were you like, I don't know. What were you feeling at that time last summer?
I was not really nervous. I was like more excited because like I wasn't at all worried or something. Like I thought it would be great.
Yeah.
And traveling with my family before I came here to see like America and all the pretty places was really fun. And then I think on the airplane I just soaked everything in and was like, oh, this will be amazing. And I first was like, oh, I don't know how I should like I to them how will be the first conversation and everything, but it was just good.
Yeah, you even got a hug out of Sarah, who's not the most natural hugger in the world. Of course, Hannah and Billy gave you love right away, and you embraced them well, so that was cool.
Yeah.
Does that seem like 10 months ago?
No, like yesterday.
Yeah.
Time is flying so fast, like I can't realize it.
Right. So then we had a few days with you before you started your American high school experience. Tell us like just some of the highlights. Let's start with this high school. Like what were some of the highlights of your American high school experience?
I think actually like the football games and with all the friends, spending time and everything, because it's like so different than like to German school. So it was like just high school, it's like the whole experience, which is so fun, and all the activities you can do and all the friends and the classes and everything. So these are my highlights. And doing like I did cross country and soccer, and so you meet a lot of people there. And then we had Young Life, and it helps me a lot to find friends. And yeah.
Sarah and I remember so clearly when you went to cross-country practice because one of your closest friends this year, Maya, had said, oh, I'm doing this, I'm just going to do a practice. And you came home, it was a hot August day, one of the hardest days of my life, you said, or hardest things I've ever done.
Yeah,
so tired.
So hard.
And we're like, well, so you won't go back to practice tomorrow, right? And you're like, no, I'll go back. And we're like, wow. And I think you went back because you were starting to meet people and your teammates were like some of your first friends. Right. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not because of running.
Yeah. Still not a running fan.
No.
That's so cool. And then you got to do soccer too. And
so fun.
Was there anything you didn't get to do related to high school experience that you thought you might when you were coming in?
I don't know, like to be high school, like doing cheerleading or something. Like I'm glad that I did cross country, not cheerleading. I think I did everything. I even ate school lunch.
Yeah.
It was a big point for me to try.
Ate school lunch. You got good grades, even though your grades didn't count toward your German transcript. Right. So you did really well there. So it was so much easier from the host family's perspective to have a student as responsible and just respectful as Annika, and then it's like, okay, we don't have to worry about a lot of the typical things, a lot of American teenage parents have to worry about, so that was really nice from our perspective. So what were some of the highlights from the entire year that you got to do even outside of school?
So many, like actually the whole year, but like for example the road trip we did together to the Grand Canyon was one of my biggest highlights and best experience, or like the Branson trip with the whole family, or like the football games just in high school, but like meeting friends or do laser tag as a family, or the hoedown. Prom was really cool, and graduation, and everything. Like every day I did something really fun.
Yeah, awesome. Those and almost all of those things you mentioned, had other people with you, and the people, I think you always prioritize your friendships and relationships and people. Do you think you'll be able to maintain those relationships at all once you go back to Germany?
I hope. Like I want to try, and I want to stay in contact with everyone. And I think we as family will definitely stay in contact forever, because this is a long relationship which is forever. So and I'm excited that we visit each other. I hope that I will stay in contact with all my friends, and was really important for me.
Do you think, so we as a family are definitely like, we got to get to Berlin, we got to get to Germany, and not just for you, but then also to visit Alex, who their family of ours got to host for half a year, a girl from Hamburg, which is 2 to 3 hours away from your home in Berlin. So that was really cool too. So there's a couple different reasons to get to Germany, but we know we want to be at Germany and just get to experience your world that you're used to. Do you think you will have a chance to make it back to the United States?
Yeah, I think so. I would save my money and then come back as soon as possible, and as often as possible. And
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it'd be so much harder. So in the meantime, before these trips that we talk about happen, it's like we know we'll get to see you face to face, even if it's on a screen, and how, 10 years ago, definitely 20 years ago, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Like we just had to write letters or send pictures. So that's, I think, will make it easier to stay close. Awesome. So do you feel like you've changed at all from Annika 10 months ago that steps foot on American soil?
I think I changed. Like, it's hard to see because it's like step by step and slowly and everything. But I think I changed. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything specific you can point to?
I think I got more confident and more open to people. And like at the beginning of before I came here, I cared a lot about what people think about me and that I wanted that they like me and anything. And it got less, so I think that got better.
Yeah, and Sarah and I would definitely agree with that. And something, we got to spend a lot of time talking. One of the biggest surprises for us was, we were surprised by how fast we got close to you. But it really was surprising to us, like with your high school schedule, and you were very active, involved, and you were even prioritizing family relationships. But I can remember pretty clearly almost every time we got to sit down and talk about very real things, like this breaks my heart, this gives me great joy, this is hurting our family, this is just life in general. And I remember all those conversations and just like how, even though we had 10 months together, it seemed like those times were so rare and so precious. But like I value, and I know Sarah values those so much. And I think you probably would say the same.
Yeah, it's I think so important like to do this when you have like an exchange student, like talk about serious stuff too, because you will grow in the relationship a lot and learn about each other. Right.
What was it? So with Amicus, Young Life's exchange program, they also have you have a representative that's outside of our host family that helps you like work through things and maybe consider what you're learning. And you had Abby.
Yeah. So
like, how was that helpful to you? And what did you get to talk about that maybe was different from your host family?
So with your rep, you can talk like about things you worry about, or you think like, oh, I don't know if I can talk with my host family about it, or if you have trouble with your friends or anything, and you just meet each other and go eat or talk about just like how you feel and how your exchange is and everything. So this helps a lot. I didn't have any problems, so I didn't we really had something to.
You're perfect, practically perfect.
So I didn't really had like something to say to her.
Big issues, right?
Yeah, big issues or something. But it was still really good to have her and to get to know her. And
Yeah, I think even though it's like we had great terms, we were on always good terms, that just another adult to be able to talk with can always be helpful. And that's what I really like about Young Life's exchange program compared to some others, because we saw like, oh, you didn't always have that, and thankfully like some other students had like you to bounce things off of, and they're like, yeah, you do. Humans are tough to live with, right? So, but yeah, I think that was really good. So what? You'll go home tomorrow. You'll fly. You won't go home. So with Young Life, the other thing she gets to do is she'll go to Washington and get to experience a week of Young Life camp with other high schoolers, both Amicus, so international students, as well as a lot of American students at Young Life camp. And we thought, oh, that's so exciting, because it's not like, oh, this ends and you just go back to the routine of Germany, but you get one like cherry on top of the whole experience, and it might be your favorite memory at all. We don't know yet. So that's cool. But then once you get home to Germany, what do you expect life to be like when you're like, okay, it's time to get back in it?
I hope I won't be too depressed not to be here anymore.
Yeah.
But like I'm excited to see my family and friends, so I probably will enjoy the rest of my summer break and then going back to the hard life of school.
Because school's harder in Germany.
Yeah,
than it was
so
in
much
America.
harder. Like I have 2 more years, and I'm not looking forward to school.
Right.
So this will be hard, but I think I can get through it.
Yeah, I know you can. I don't doubt it'll be really
Yeah.
hard for you. And that's what we've talked a lot about. Sarah and I say, yeah, it's hard to see the changes within you because they happen so small, like small increments, but we think you have grown up and matured so much. And, we've talked a lot about believing that you are not the same person that left Germany 10 months ago, or really 11 months ago if you count your road trip with your family. It's like this, you should expect things to be different, and really, we're really optimistic that they'll be different for the better, because you're not the same. Everything else may not have changed there, but you have hopefully a spirit of joy and confidence that has grown and matured that God has given you, and that's really the hope. So
Yeah.
that's what Sarah and I talk a lot about that. So a couple questions for the people that might watch this.
Okay.
What would you tell a student, either international or an American student, who's considering doing an experience or an adventure like you've done? What would you tell somebody like, oh, I might do it, but I don't know?
I think they should go for it because they will have really the best year of their life, and will learn so much. Like even if they have not so many good memories, they will learn so much for their life, what they need. And what I would recommend is that when they go to high school, try to do, go in a sport team or try to do as many stuff as you can to meet people and just get connected with everyone.
Yeah.
Because it's a big part of your exchange year.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What would you tell a family that's considering hosting an exchange student?
I would say they should be really excited because they will learn a lot from the exchange student about the country and about how the person is living there, and they will have a lot of good experience too. And it's not just for the exchange student something great, it's even for the host family great, and you will have a relationship forever.
Yeah.
And they should try to teach them a lot and show how America is and give them all the experience they can do and show them love. And
Yeah, that's good. I think that's been probably the theme of our year together is it's just love. We've learned to love a new person in our life. We couldn't imagine not having you in our lives now, and we think you feel the same about us, and we've just learned to love someone in a new way. And then to say, why not try to experience that? It's worth the adventure, it's worth the risk, because sometimes it might not go well, but if it does go well, it's awesome. And a lot of people have asked us, how did it go? Oh, so good. Would you do it again? And we've said, well, we won't do it again right away, we know. Yeah. Only because it went so well. We don't think it'd be very fair for a new student to come into our family and we'd be comparing everything to you, because it just was so rich. But saying maybe when we get to another phase of life in 4 or 5 years and our kids are a different stage of life, then we might consider doing it again. But in the meantime, we're gonna savor this year. We're gonna take a deep breath too, okay, wow, that was wild. That 10 months like that, and our hearts are, really jazzed up too. So let's take a deep breath and reflect as a hair family. But you've given us reason to be anybody who asks us is yes, go for it. And Young Life Amicus, if anyone has any interest in doing it within the framework of spiritually, what does this mean too? It's that's a great organization. So yeah. Very cool. So who knows what the future holds for you and our relationship. Do you believe that the best is yet to come, or is that hard to think about? I don't know how it looks. I think the next couple of years will probably definitely be challenging for you. I think the next year will be really challenging for our kids to like get used to life again without you. But and for Sarah and I too. But often we're so busy we don't have time to sit and think about it. But I think the best is yet to come, and it'll be cool to see like this was a huge year, but what if it's only just the very beginning? Who knows what happens in the future? We might move to Germany. Who knows? I have no idea. But we're good. Anything else you think is important for either you to say, us to know, or anyone else to know?
I'm just so thankful that I did an exchange year and that I met you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really the best year like so far I ever had.
Yeah.
And like all the experience and memories I will never forget. And it's the best. Like it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I showed you the little video clip I made of some of the Grand Canyon images we got, and the quote that I put over that was, "There are those who say no to anything, and say no, and they're rewarded by the safety they maintain. But there's those who say yes, and they're rewarded by the adventures they have." It's like this has been an adventure for all of us, and so that's been good. So, way to go. We love you.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing this. I think people will really like it, and highly encourage you to, say yes to whatever adventure opportunity comes your way.